Teachers, what is your greatest I hope that kid doesn't tell their parents moment? I have a second grade student whose parents are Christian Scientists and don't believe in medicine. I'm not allowed to give her any aspirin when she gets a cut as 7-year-old often do. If she gets a hold of the first aid kit before I do, she layers on the stuff just to be rebellious. But when she gets hurt and I patch her up, I put it on her too. I won't tell if she won't. What science field do they study? Christian Science is a new age religion. You study the science of why a 2000-year-old book is right and everyone else is wrong. Big proponents of prayer for healing and that vaccines don't do anything. Think anti-vaxxers, the religion. I'm pretty open-minded, but when it comes to mess with other lives, it really bothers me. And this is one of those things. Forcefully doing something to kids without parents' consent or against it seems heavy, but when lives are in the table, I really don't feel that bad if it was a thing. Because not getting vaccinated also might expose others to danger. I wonder if there are any laws in any country related to this, forcing people to be vaccinated or something similar. There are in some states in the US. When I was a child it was required that you be vaccinated to attend public school, and several states are in the process of passing those laws again. I'm an American teaching in Scotland. I once told a group of S1 7th graders to stop spasming out being spastic as they were quite unsettled after a pellisone a bit hyper. One kind pupil said, "Mr. You check it 87. I don't think you can say that." I then asked my colleagues in the staff room about it, and that didn't go so well. I didn't realize that in the UK, that word phrase is reserved for people with disabilities such as cerebral palsy who are having an episode extremely rude. As a teacher, I've never wanted to crawl up into a hole as much as I did then except for when I tripped up on a desk in front of a class and tore my ACL teaching stateside. Hay was 30 years old when I learned from a One Day a Daytime episode that there was a strong negative social stigma attached to epilepsy. I had no idea people cared beyond a certain amount of pity for those who had seizures. But apparently some people think people with epilepsy should be shunned and be ashamed, etc. What? That is terrible. Was playing a video for the class on YouTube. I pulled it up and then got distracted with the conversation. I didn't notice that for several minutes some very inappropriate video suggestions were off to the side, not related to my own past videos or anything before someone asks. They were tangentially related to the topic of the video. Edit: it was internet safety, about not using the internet for bad things. So all the suggestions were basically about how to do all the bad things. What were you watching, exactly? My geography teacher was showing us some videos about the topic we were studying, and in the suggestions there was videos about staying overnight in Walmart etc, and you could see that they had all been fully watched on her account. I taught classes only for a short time. It was a tough area, and I was not much older than the 15 to 16-year-old boys. Some of them misbehaved in ways which I was not prepared for. I asked some of the older teachers to sit in during their lessons, and I was shocked, but then got used to it at the language they used to control the boys. So once during one of my lessons a boy said something that was really bad, NSFW stuff and more. So I decided to show him that I could use that language too. I ended up not just swearing but blaspheming. He shut up. Oh my. Blaspheming? Tell me more. S. Not sure if you are pulling my leg, but the blasphemy was not in English, but in a language the boy understood. Lol. Yeah, I was joking. Res means sarcastic. But for real, it's always a shock to teen boys when they hear an adult start to use their own language back at them. Last year a kid was walking across my classroom and he tripped over a chair and went flying. I laughed at him, checking him at the same time. Luckily he started laughing too, so no buggy. He was about 12 at the time too, hardly a little kid. Is that you, Miss T? My old mentor. One of my second grade students was in my classroom during recess because he wasn't feeling well. In an effort to cheer him up I pulled up some funny video that I remembered liking. I'd completely forgot just how much cursing was in it. I teach at a very conservative religious school. One of the students in the senior math class I teach asked if I went to any drinking parties when I was in high school. I said I didn't remember any. They asked, so that's a no? Like they didn't believe me. I reiterated that I couldn't remember them. It clicked for a few of them. I was not a teacher, but an after-school counselor. I was not prepared mentally to look after 25 first graders by myself. I was told when I was hired I would have a partner. They lied. During snack time some of the kids had crowded around another kid who was showing them something in his hand. It was an earring. A big old diamond men's earring. I told the kid to hand it over. He threw a fit and was like, no, I promise I won't show it again. He shoves it into his jeans and that's the end of it for a little while. I'm the idiot for taking a 6-year-old at his word. Half an hour later he comes up to me and tells me he swallowed it. He swallowed it. So I start yelling at him for swallowing it because I'm panicking, and then he starts to panic saying it's stuck in his throat. So I panic more and call the nurse. The nurse takes a look at him and says he's fine. Later when the father comes to pick him up I explain, very shakily, that the kid swallowed his earring. He nods and walks off. Turns out he can't speak a lick of English. The kid survived because he was in school the next day and every day after. Suffice to say I quit that job. I wasn't clearly unfit to look after small lives for any significant amount of time. Later when the father comes to pick him up I explain, very shakily, that the kid swallowed his earring. He nods and walks off. That went well. Oh, he does that sometimes. We don't know where he gets them from. He just has them. Teach university so it doesn't happen much at all, but I had this foreign exchange student complaining about how he was failing. He missed several weeks, hadn't turned in a couple papers, it was no contest. He went to my department head to complain about me after I politely told him there was no way to bring his grade up to passing at that point. Luckily my department head is a good guy and backed me up, but he was saying something about telling his parents and taking it up even further. But that was years ago, and far as I know nothing happened. Wednesday a student came into my office begging for a C, and when I told him his final grade would indeed be a C, he started crying. Big Wayne the Rock Johnson looking dude. I told him, if he didn't stop crying I'd smack him across the face. I'm just not comfortable with emotions and apparently I'm not great at handling my own either. I get that you're not bragging about it, but yikes. Were you overreacting because he was a masculine dude or because he was challenging your assumptions about The Rock specifically? I just panicked. I didn't want him to cry. I likely would have said to any other student, but it was just so unexpected from him. Did you have the sort of reaction where you're like he's crying, I should give him a hug to comfort him? Wait, no, that's bad for a teacher to do. Better go the other direction, stop, or I'll hit you. That's about right, yeah. I just kind of leaned forward a little and then I just froze. My mom was subbing for freshman literature and asked to read the book. Normally the regular teacher would shake them and be kinda rude to them, but my mom is one of those teachers that cares more about them learning. She joked about it and went just had the kids promise to actually read it by the end of semester. Then she gets to this last chick. My mom asks her to promise like with the other kids and all of a sudden this girl just bursts out sobbing. No one knew why, so we all just kinda sat there. She eventually calmed down, but my mom thought she did something wrong. It took 20 minutes to convince her that the girl is just a drama queen. I had a student teacher about 11 years ago that I was supervising, and one day for no apparent reason she dropped the S-bomb before seemingly just losing the plot trying to make up for it. She just dug herself a deeper hole over something she could easily have brushed off in a class full of 16-year-olds. When I say that she lost the plot, she basically began talking about how saying shit wasn't too bad, while saying it multiple times and going red. I had to spend a fair bit of time just getting the class back on track and giving the poor girl some advice if that kind of thing happened again. I waited anxiously for angry phone calls and messages, but thankfully nothing happened. I was glad as she was a really good student teacher. Other than that, I suspect the students probably got that too, as well as a bit of a laugh. I once threw a candy bar at a kid who was basically blind. He got an answer correct, and I threw it without thinking. then played it off like I was aiming for the student next to him to catch it for him. Outstanding move.